All right, it's time. Our last chance to punch tickets to Miami to chase Nez, all of our fellow Badge Bros and friends from the Deposit Kingdom. We're going to talk through strategy for the 12-person drafts this week. And of course, all of the Battle Royale strategy and our classic Pick'em build segment. It's off and on the clock with Pete and the Badge Bros. Let's go. Hello. We got Nez, we got John. John doesn't partake in American Thanksgiving, so I'll ask Nez, how was your day yesterday?
Thank you. I'm glad you addressed me first. I had a great Thanksgiving yesterday. It was a lot of fun. I was so ingrained into my lineups. Didn't quite detract from Thanksgiving, but I made a butternut squash soup yesterday that was so good.
Ooh.
My wife's uncle, would not stop complimenting me on it for the entire day. It was literally like 10 separate times was telling me like, hey, Jay, you need to send me that recipe. That was so good. Like, would not leave me alone about it. Borderline uncomfortable, but that's how you know that you just really nailed a side dish out of the park. So I was feeling pretty gassed up yesterday about my soup.
Yeah, fine, John. I'll ask. What did you go on a roll in Stanley Park? A stroll? What did you do?
Okay, we gotta set the record straight with some of the Stanley Park stuff from Thursday night or Wednesday night. Okay, Stanley Park. Jacob's young guy. He's a young guy. He's a little green, right? He was selling you in all the wrong fashions on like what Stanley Park is. It is like living, breathing, beautiful ecosystem of city center. It is wraparound beaches that you can ride your bike on or, walk, run, whatever. The whole coast of the city. And then, because like Vancouver's 2 islands, right? And you can go from beach to beach all along this with water facing like Pacific Ocean as far as you can see, and then north facing mountains in the distance. It's like some of the most scenic shit you ever seen. Like him trying to sell you guys Vancouver was like trying to sell you CMC 101. So it's such a layup take. But and then the whole Grouse Mountain stuff, like Grouse Mountain is 25 minutes from Stanley Park. It's 20 minutes from Stanley Park. You can golf or beach or snowboard in the same day in the middle of November. It's legit, man.
Wow. I don't know. I feel like the lumberjack party was a pretty good selling point there. Yeah. If you guys are very confused what John's referencing, on Ship Chasing, we had a Wednesday night show this week, and Jacob Sanderson, another Canadian, was on, and we had a ton of fun Google Mapsing a lot of Vancouver there. So you can check that out. You wouldn't think a show before Thanksgiving slate would be evergreen, but it's a fairly evergreen show.
It very much is.
I did celebrate yesterday, though. I did celebrate. Yeah, a couple halfer buddies who dual citizens and that sort of thing. They took the day off and whatever, and we had 6 of us over here watch the ball games. We made tacos, a very Thanksgiving tradition to make tacos. But yeah, we had a chill day.
So yeah, let's do a little recap of the Thanksgiving slate before we dive into week 12. How did it pan out for you guys?
Well, I went really heavy on this slate. It was easily the heaviest I've ever gone on any underdog slate, period. And it was, and I loved all the contests that were available to draft, obviously, but it made it kind of hard to sweat, partly because I had so many lineups that I'm just like waiting for the games to end, and then I'll see, like, lift my cards up, see how I did. But I made money, which was very, very nice. Didn't take down the turkey or anything, but had a lot of fun doing it. That was a really fun slate. It could have gone better, but had a good day regardless. So I know you Max P. I think that was your first time maxing a battle royale for a daily.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the perfect setup, right? It was like 150 max, an awesome slate. I thought there were like legit edges as far as the 2 quarterbacks not getting drafted in every contest. And so I took a really big position on Jordan Love, ended up being, I think, close to 40% Jordan Love there. And I was pretty excited after that first game. Of course, Dak ends up chasing him down, and kind of, the edge there was just slightly diminished because Dak was pretty affordable in drafts too. So that was a little bit of a bummer. And my other big stand, Dak was my second most drafted quarterback. I kind of made the stand of scrolling past Brandon Cooks and doing a ton of Jalen Tolbert and Michael Gallup and being like trying to play it through the lower owned guys there. Obviously, Cooks ends up hitting there. So ended up making a little bit of money, but my saving grace is I was really trying to get the 150 in. Famously, I was doing the last few on ship chasing during the stream. I was even in a draft with you. Thank you for not snitching with me, Nez, as I was getting one of those in. So I got those in, and then the show ends, and I was like, you know what? I got to hop in a couple of these other ones that are still up. So I did 3 bullets in the mid-sized turkey and ended up getting third. I got chased down. I was in first at halftime of the 49ers game there, and then I didn't have CMC, and the CMC teams chased me down. I had a Dak, Tony Pollard, redacted, Brandon Cooks. That's where I did get my Brandon Cook share, and then had a Monrod Debo in Laporta. So I was bummed not to hold on for first for 3,000, but did get third there for 1,000 and made it a pretty nice profitable day.
That's always nice. John, you made a little bit of money too, right?
Yeah, I doubled my entry fees. I only played 50 of them. I was winning 2 of the smaller single entry contests, the winner takes all, with like halfway through the third quarter of the final game there. And I had Debo Kittle instead of Debo CMC, and Debo CMC is what you needed. It was, same thing. Dak, redacted, Cooks, and Watson, Debo, Kittle. And then Kittle just didn't get home. Yeah. I think I played pretty well. Like I had 50% Debo, I had 38% David Montgomery. I guess I shouldn't have been as heavy. I was pretty balanced at tight end, like 28, 28, 28, something like that. But I guess just being on like Ferg over Laporta late in the week.
That was probably my big misstep too.
Yeah, that burned a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of good lineups.
I don't think it was terrible process though, because you look at like the splits with Gibbs and Laporta when they're both there, and then you just kind of looked at the matchup and the red zone usage for Ferg. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was bad.
Well, and you think about how important it is to correlate tight end with the quarterback. And if you went in your crystal ball and I told you this is Dak's line and this is Jared Goff's line, and I showed you nothing else, you would have had 100% Ferguson and 0% Laporta. So kind of an interesting run out, and that he gets that early touchdown. But I think from a process standpoint, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you guys get Gino and Hal? Like I had 18% Jordan Love, 28% Dak. I guess kind of like balanced or whatever. But I had basically no Hal and no Gino. Did you guys get there?
So my big stand was fading Purdy and Howell, because those guys going as QB 3 and 4 in a lot of them. And so I've just pulled mine up. I was 35% Love, 27% Dak, 14% Goff, 13% Gino, 7% Brock, 2% Howell. I thought like Brock and Howell, like just the way I like to play, were like almost undraftable, because their projection to Love was like not that different, and Love was just like not getting drafted at remotely the same clip. I ended up just like, putting my John hat on and just biting the bullet with Gino, just knowing he wasn't going to be drafted. But I was like, I'm not making near as big of a stand on Gino as I am Jordan Love. But I didn't like, I thought Howell was a really tough click where he was going.
I had a little bit of him. I was pretty flat as far as QBs go. That was just because I was drafting so many teams that I felt like it just kind of made sense. And I was building mostly around like Debo was like a real centerpiece in a lot of my builds, because he was going so late that him over the Seattle guys for me was really easy. So he was like my centerpiece, and then I was just kind of building around him. And so I did end up getting a good bit of Howell and a good bit of Gino. And what I was mainly doing to get to those pieces was capitalizing on them in the $3.20 max, where like truthfully I was auto drafting those. I knew what I wanted in like my top like 10 or 15, and then I would do like, if I wanted to make that contest a Gino contest, I would put Gino as like my highest quarterback, and then just be like, you know what, this is my super exploitative stance, and if Gino goes off, then I'm taking down this contest, and if I'm whiffing on the turkey in that, then it's fine. But obviously that didn't work out. But that's how I was playing that. Also, just real quick. Oh, go ahead, John. Good.
No, I got a question with that. Do you put the condom on it when you think you get like a pretty rare first 4 picks? So like hypothetically speaking, like you found yourself in a lobby where you got redacted, Demont, Amon-Ra on the same lineup, and you see a slide with like Purdy or something like that. Do you deviate your Geno stance there and just be like, oh, he's projecting, okay, I got to do Purdy here because this is a GM?
If I was hand building, I would take a naked Purdy in that. If I was like, you know what, I have the nuts at the flex. Like, I
Right.
still think Purdy can have a good game, but I have these nuts. And not only does that make it unique, but like, I'm just simply going for raw points. So to answer your question, yes, I do, especially on a smaller slate. Absolutely.
I
What about you,
struggle
Pete?
with that one, John. That's like always my internal monologue when I know I'm getting a combo. That's pretty rare. I agree with Nez. Like, if it's the quarterback spot, I don't want to go as off the board. I had a few combos I really liked. I can't remember them now, but I still did my like scroll down to Tolbert. I'm like, I'm not going to take Cooks here. Obviously, that doesn't work out in hindsight, but I'm still willing. Like, when because the projection difference between Purdy and Geno was pretty big. Like, the projection difference, I don't think between Cooks to those wide receivers is not big enough for me to justify that. But I mean, that is always the age old question of, because it happens all the time in Battle Royale. You get that unique combo, and then you're like, am I just going to chalk it up around this or what?
It's one of those things, especially in hoops, where you can kind of do yourself a disservice by not autoing and just sticking to the plan. You know what I mean? Because like when you let yourself interfere with it, I think everyone's natural instinct is to be like, wow, this is a really good team. I don't want to F it up with this crazy outlandish decision here.
Well, and let's pull this up just real quick to look at sorry, John, if you can help me out with the scenes here, to look at the winning lineup. This was not a scroll the F down slate. I mean, this was get the 101, and then you take CMC, right? And then at the turn, you get Tony Pollard and Dak at 8-9, which was a fairly common way to play that because CeeDee's off the board and you're not reaching for Ferguson or the other pass catcher there. And then you come back. Laporta was starting to slide like later during the week, I think, because the ETR projections had Ferguson higher. So then you grab Ferguson at 16 and Debo at 17. Debo was probably a guy who shouldn't have been going there in hindsight. And then it's your last pick. And you're like, I only have Dak with Tony Pollard. I'm going to take the best guy available in Brandon Cooks. Like, there's nothing fancy about this. And all of these guys were drafted in close to 100% of contests. Maybe there were a couple that Cooks didn't get drafted. But this was just like, you need the 101 and you just put the pieces together.
Yeah. I think this one would have been the hardest portion of this to obtain is that somebody took Ferguson before Laporta without Dak here. And I think that's what allowed the Laporta to get their combo.
Yeah.
The thing is, unless you were building, like I was building out a ton of Dak stuff, and there were times where I would pass on Ferguson because I wanted to get doubles with Tolbert and Cooks or Tolbert and Gallup. Like I was doing that. So, but yeah, I think in just like if you were like straight going off of ranks, then you need someone kind of reaching for him.
I'd also venture to guess. Sorry, Ness. Sorry. I'd also venture to guess that it was maybe a bit later because what happened with Debo is he pushed down pretty far in like the visual representation of the projections, not ADP, because Sharps pushed up so high. So and Metcalf pushed above Debo as well. So on, I guess it would have been Wednesday night and Thursday morning, Debo was behind Metcalf and Sharps, and that opened up a lot of fourth round Debo, and I just kept eating it up. I had 52% Debo.
Yeah, I think that was super shot. I kept like trying to get myself to add to my Geno because I was like, it didn't feel good. I wanted, and so I kept waiting for like Metcalf to be there. And based on how I had my rank set up, and I was just like, I was never getting DK Metcalf. Like people were drafting him so high. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll do like a one-off Sharps and JSN. But like the field made it very hard for me to punt money off on Geno, and I was trying to. I really was.
My Galbrain thing. Sorry, Nez. I just got all these thoughts and I just keep jumping.
At least you say sorry in that really nice Canadian accent.
Yeah,
soften the blow every time.
My big thing with DK that I kind of didn't implement a fade with him or whatever. I obviously didn't love the spot, didn't love the game, didn't love the projection, blah blah blah. But he had a Q tag for a 6-hour window, let's call it, on Tuesday, where he was falling to the 6th round and damn near undrafted, where people were putting Lockett above him and stuff like that. So in my mind, I also thought if I was building DK stuff, I wanted it to be exclusively with Geno stuff to get leverage off of those lineups, because I didn't think, I mean, it's a really small nuance, and maybe it's a good segue to the Cooper Kupp conversation for this week. But I was kind of like eerie on playing DK by himself, knowing that 6th round DK existed when I saw the projection bump up to guys taking him at like the 2-3 turn, for instance.
Yeah.
Definitely a decision point in those drafts was the fact that he was in the 6. I saw it fall a lot. And the Debo fall happened a lot too, which is like kind of maybe hard to believe if you like weren't in these turkey streets, but it happened quite a bit. And like that's why I was making him such a strong stance and just getting unique around him. But it is interesting too that like it's a small slate. We had 22,000 drafts, and yet the optimal was not the winner because Watson actually outscored Brandon Cooks. But like, how are you ever gonna get there if you draft Dak and you need a stack partner there at the end? Like, who's going to pass up on Cooks to get Watson, which is interesting. The one other thing I was just going to say is that with there was a contest for the leftovers, which was the 2-game slate, 3-person drafts with the Niners game and this Miami Jets game, which is like going on right now and is absolutely atrocious slate. And I went so hard on George Kittle because he was far and away the best tight end. It was George Kittle, Conklin, Smythe, etc. And then George Kittle put up like 3 points. So, but I thought it was so sharp. I had 70% in like 50 drafts. I was like, yes, like I did it, found my edge, and it's all going down the drain. But I think Tyreek just got injured too, so hopefully he's okay.
Ooh, he's back, but yeah.
The Kittle one, the Kittle one was Kyle Dvorak tweeted it the other day that he has 4 games, I think, under 20 yards this season, and he's still like pretty close to tight end overall 1 because he's had 4 games under 20 yards and 4 games above 18 points or something like that, or above 20 points in PPR is what he said. Pretty crazy.
And I mean, that's kind of like I'm willing to go in on that spot. Nez, when the Musgrave stuff happened, I'd been drafting a lot of him. And so I was like, I think I'm just comfortable with my swap to Kraft and just being done there. And then to me, I was like, I really like Ferguson. Obviously, I was kind of down. And so I was like, I'm just going to start ripping it in on Kittle. And so I had like so many Kittle shares at the end because I was like, I want these combos. Like I love the Dak and the Love stuff. And I'm like, now I want to mix in Kittle in all these other configurations with these guys. Didn't work. But one other thing I was going to say about the thing John brought up with you needed someone to take Ferguson ahead of Laporta. That's what happened in these drafts I did. And I think the one draft, I don't know if this is the one I won. It might've been, it was Copper Prices and G were in this. And then one other guy. And this was one of the few times where I was like, I had Dak and I wanted to get Ferguson, and then someone takes Ferguson. And so I'm like, I'll take Laporta. And then this is the one spot where it's like in the turkey, you're able to kind of do what you want over and over again. You get into sharper, higher stakes rube, and it just naturally funneled me to a play I wasn't doing. And then of course that's the lineup that does well.
That's a sharp room there. Shout out Dallas Dave, just edging you there for second place.
Dude, it's so funny too. Nice. So we come home from Thanksgiving. I'd honestly like forgotten about these. I pull it up and saw I had 3,000 in first tier, and then I'm checking out the combos, and I see these CMC teams charging me down, and I had I think it was like a 4 or 5 point lead at halftime. And Lauren was like, do you want to watch the game? And I was like, no. I was like, we're going to bed. I refuse. I was like, I know what's going to happen. I know what's happening. There's no need to sweat this. And I was just pleasantly surprised to have woke up and held on to third place there.
Yeah, that's always the worst. I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch it's such a tease when you open the app, you see like in that one contest, like a nice 4-digit number, you just like kind of lose yourself, and then you just know it's going away.
But again, I know Rudmid tweeted this out, but shout out to Neumy and Hope for grinding, getting so many fun contests up there. I was too locked in on the turkey that I didn't dabble in a lot of stuff, but man, they got a ton of action up there for everyone yesterday.
Yeah, they crushed it.
Mm-hmm. How are we feeling about week 12? I will completely admit I got some research in this morning, finally got some ranks set, got my hidden gems piece up, all of that, but I'm definitely, behind where I'm normally at coming into a slate here.
I think everybody feels that way. I don't think you're alone in that at all. I feel very similarly. I think there's like a couple, scratch your head games where it's just kind of like I'm crossing them off on this one. But I think the biggest thing right now is the Cooper Cup piece, right?
Yeah.
Like just how we're going to play that. It matters less in the 6-person contest. Like sure, some 6th round Cooper Cup is going to exist and that sort of thing. But I don't know, the dog bowl one, it kind of scares me, but I think there's probably going to be some interesting pivots that we can find and leverage off of it, knowing that it exists. So yeah, I think that's the big kind of like skeleton key to talk through.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that makes me less, because, and I should also say, I think this week, I think like I'll probably get in some battle royales just because I won't be able to resist. But I think like 95% of my play is going to be dog bowl, this week, just with that one last hurrah. But the other thing that makes me less demoralized about the people who got the early Cooper Cup is like he also hasn't really been good for multiple weeks. I know he missed that touchdown last week. We probably would be thinking a little differently. They had that free play on the offsides and he just like botched it. But like the Puka thing has played out in a way where it is limiting like the monster target shares that I think lower his floor. It doesn't change the ceiling. And that's why that ceiling will always be there. But I do think the floor is a little bit lower. It's not like you're just banking in 17, 18 points from Cooper Cup in your lineup in the way I think it used to be. So I'm willing to try to play the combos around that and not feel like the contest is ruined. Not to mention, as of that news breaking, I mean, the dog bowl was still less than 25% full, around 25%. So I think we're okay on that front, or at least that's my hope.
Yeah. Definitely some sharp dudes in there that have been hitting the dog bowls hard, but I agree. I think the fact that it's only 20% full is a saving grace, and I will use that as cope to continue to draft Cooper Cup. But it's definitely a testament to the slate and how just ugly it is that something. I mean, not that a Cooper Cup is something to take lightly, but he just completely vaults his way into like top 20 territory, knowing that he is active on a slate like this. But it is definitely a little studs and dudsy. We've got 2 totals, I believe, over like 45, and then the rest are just like putrid games. So could be something where, and I've done this a couple times where I'm taking 2 pass catchers from a game without the quarterback, just because I am just like straight up searching for points scored in a game. Looking at you, Houston. But yeah, definitely a weird one. And I'm wearing my super campy Super Steelers hat here to celebrate. We never like to, to celebrate the man's demise, but Matt Canada, we'll see ya out of here, and welcoming this new look Steelers with a 35-point total at Cincinnati. But I think we found some things that we like in there. Question mark?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote up the way I kind of wrote it up in my hidden gems piece. It's like, I do think in the dog bowl, you could make the case for some double stacks if you'd like. But as far as like battle royale type stuff, like taking a one-off stealer at the end, whether it's Warren, whether it's Pickens, whether it's Deontay Johnson, whether it's Freiermuth in those 6-person, like I really like that because I do think there is room for one of these guys to go for 20 plus points. JM just put in 2 of them. We started a team on Redacted just a few minutes ago, putting in Warren and Pickens there. I think there is some stuff to like there. I am hesitant to, load up on Kenny Pickett. But then again, you want to talk about scrolling down in the dog bowl, 12 quarterbacks taken in every draft. I mean, you go look at QB 13 and down, there's not a lot to like.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I put Josh Allen on the cover, is because it felt like such an obvious, like, thrust up QB spot. But there's also a lot of leverage introduced if you want to go to like the Desmond Ritters, the AOCs, some of this really gross stuff at the back end, because they're literally not being drafted. I guess we'll see a little bit of steam here with the Stafford stuff. I did a Stafford Higbee earlier that now I regret with the Cup stuff. Especially because those are just like 2 freaking floor plays paired together. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a big overarching talking point on the slate. Have you guys been pushing up quarterback? Have you been prioritizing it because of that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like I'm really, really surprised Josh Allen and the rest of these guys have ADPs as low as they are. I thought that they would be like, you remember, we kind of referenced this and we never actually saw it this season, where last season, right, these top QBs would be like all in the first round, was like just QBs. And it was so strange. I thought for sure we would see that this week, and we haven't. maybe dog bowl, like the way dog bowls are going is actually like way different than the 6-person drafts are going, because in 6-person it's not quite as necessary. But I think if you're doing dog bowls and you are like not prioritizing QB, I think you may need to like take another look at how bad QB is past QB like 6.
I think it's also, Nez, that the backstack options are so easy for the elite quarterbacks too. Like you can't necessarily get like Hurts Brown, but you can get Hurts Smith every single time if you want it. You can get Mahomes with whoever the F you want other than Kelsey. And then Allen you can put with anyone other than Diggs, basically. And I mean, the
Kincaid's hard to come back sometimes
that's
in
fair,
the second.
Yeah.
I guess depending, like if you are taking Josh Allen, like say you're like, dude, Josh Allen should be the 101 or 102. Like it is a little harder sometimes for Kincaid because he's now, he's the second tight end off the board after McBride. And that would be the only thing. But yeah, I agree with you. It's really cheap to build around that. I guess though, just not to fully push back because I do agree, but also, it all comes down to like the opportunity cost stuff and like how strong you think some of those mid first round selections are. Like what is the true ceiling of a Jonathan Taylor, a Travis Etienne? The Tank Dell price is pretty frothy, but that's really kind of what you're kind of balancing. The way I've handled it, and again, I've only done a handful of dog bowls so far, is thinking like if I'm not getting one of these elite quarterbacks, I do want to be heavily correlating around the game. So like I did a Minshew one where I think I took like every Colt. I have like JT, Pittman, Downs on it, where it's like if this guy can compete with the Josh Allen, it's because this game goes absolutely nutty. So that's kind of how I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, I really do think that this is going to be something where we need like 2 or 3 pieces like minimum from one game that goes off to have a shot in this. And we can kind of get into sleeper games later, but I am like kind of wondering if there's like, I mean, I'm crossing off quite a few games just like completely when I'm drafting, and and I am worried that some of these can bury me, but it I mean, I'm just so focused on this Bills Eagles game. Like you guys kind of talked about it a little bit, Pete, on the show with JM, but I think that people seeing the Chiefs kind of struggle against the Eagles on primetime has people giving the Eagles defense like way too much respect against the Bills that are like fighting for their playoff lives. The Eagles defense is not good. I think people just have not yet to wrap their head around the fact that the Chiefs offense is like actually mid a little bit, like outside of Mahomes, like his receivers are bottom tier in the league. And so now you get this Bills pass heavy attack against the Eagles. And I think this is just like a layup recency bias spot for us. And really, like, as of right now, I can't get off this.
I would add to the watch the film bros thing there, Nez, that the Chiefs scored way more points, right? Like you get the MVS drop, you get the uncharacteristic Kelsey fumble in the red zone, like inside the 10 there. And then they had Justin Watson drop in the end zone as well. I mean, that they had no business losing that game, let alone putting up as few points as they did. So, I mean, maybe like this is where we put our film grinder hat on and we just attribute some of those expected points to the Chiefs there. And we just ape in on exactly what you're saying, where they actually did torch the Eagles. We just didn't see it in the score.
Good point.
Yeah. As someone who watched his Battle Royale win slip away as Dak carved up the Eagles secondary, I will attest to that secondary being awful there. And I do think I think you guys are right. I think we are going to see the quarterbacks push up a little bit more. I will just say, I think just because you don't get one of those guys doesn't mean you can't attack that game. Like I have no problem even taking like a couple Bills pass catchers without Josh Allen and just being like, can I get fucking 18 points or 19 from Kenny Pickett or Ritter? And then Allen only puts up 26, 27, and I'm able to cover the gap with my first round pick versus your, 6th round running back that you took. Like, I think that's very possible still. I'm not throwing in the towel just because I don't get Allen.
Exactly. Neither am I. The game comparative to the field is just like too good for me to ignore it. So I'm sorry if you're in drafts with me and you're an Allen and you think you're setting up a sweet double. I apologize. Khalil Shakir is actually in my player pool and he's not a 6th round pick. So for me.
I love that should be a new bit where it's like at the beginning of drafting week, you apologize in advance for the guys you will take unstacked. You can't get mad at me. I'm planting my flag on
We
this.
need to shake hands at the end of the slate, like we're in Little League again, just so we can have good sportsmanship about this, because I get a little heated even.
That's good. Another game that you alluded to it, Pete, that you're going to this Colts side of that game. You built the onslaught stuff there. We've seen the Bucks be a pass funnel. Little less sneaky now. Like a lot of those guys are going here. We get the projections coming out. Jonathan Taylor's popping for everyone on Redacted here. Is that your favorite non big boy game environment there?
I think when you say game environment, outside of the Houston Jags one, I think so. I mean, it does set up on paper. I love that this game is in the dome for the Colts here. It was interesting when I mentioned Jonathan Taylor to JM, and he was just like, he's not even in my like player pool this week. Like he respects that Tampa Bay run defense so much. But yeah, if a game gets nutty, and how many games have we seen? You know, the Bucks game versus the Texans was like essentially the game of the year. Like you have the Colts games who played all of these drunk games. Like if you had two teams who have played the most unnormal games all year, it's probably the Bucks and the Colts. So I do love this potential for things to get wild here.
Yeah, one thing on the Taylor thing, just hand on the dirt football bro shit, is Levante David probably is already out, and then Devin White might be out as well. So missing two middle linebackers there. Like Vita Vea is a beast, but that's maybe funneling in to the projection, and maybe we shouldn't double count it, but just one of the reasons potentially. Fully in lockstep with you.
I'm struggling with JT as well. I will say my initial read on this was like, I don't think I'm going to be like too high on Jonathan Taylor. And then I look at the projections and I see ADP, and it is kind of like making me second guess myself. And, anecdotally, when this happens and I second guess myself based on things that I'm seeing, it usually backfires. And then I'm upset with myself for not going with my gut. But on a slate like this, looking at it more and more, I think I will end up getting to JT probably like an average amount. I don't know that I'll pass up on him at ADP for our intents and purposes, but it does kind of scare me a little bit just because this Bucks front, at least historically, has been pretty stout, and we have running backs as well that go in like the 20s if we're just talking 6-person drafts that I think can match Jonathan Taylor this week.
It definitely feels like the deepest position on the slate, does it not?
Yeah, by far.
Like you could tell yourself a story in the 6th round for James Conner. You could tell yourself a story in the 6th round for maybe like Miles Sanders.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, Pete. Go ahead. Go.
No, I just to say to your point, like the early ones that I did, like I was just pulling up projections on them, and it's just like the running backs project better than the wide receivers at basically every point this week. Like you see how overdrafted the wide receivers are getting. I'm not saying based on the market, because you got to get your wide receivers, but just based on the pure projections, it's like Javonte Williams, Ramondre, all those guys you mentioned, like project better than all of the wide receivers going around ahead of them in every single draft.
But that does kind of lend itself to getting your wide receivers though, right? Because
that's what I mean.
Yeah, they're overdrafted, but it's basically it's the scarcity, obviously.
Yep.
I asked you guys, I floated this one to Crutches we did our bros giving on Wednesday there, and Crutches and I did Dog Bowl to end it off, and he was very high on the Allen stuff, very high on that game in general, and he wasn't drinking my Derrick Henry Kool-Aid. I'm thinking about Titans at home favorites, versus this team that we've attacked over and over and over again. Maybe we're discrediting the Panthers defense because they are slightly different now with Burns returning and that sort of deal. But I just can't shake the idea that they in a potentially winning script, that Derrick Henry is going to get 20 something carries and just go old school Derrick Henry, break the slate.
I'm with you. I feel like if I've noticed a theme to this week and just like looking at projections and ADP and ownership projections is it's the week everyone forgot about the flow chart, which is like kind of nice because sometimes the flow chart matchup stuff gets overdone and it's too heavily baked in or double counted. But we were just mentioning it like no one's afraid of the flow chart with Jonathan Taylor. People aren't jamming in Derrick Henry. People aren't jamming it in against the Eagles pass defense. It is kind of refreshing because when you do those first glances on a slate, like to all those guys who piled into the dog bowl early, like if you're just doing the flow chart stuff, like you got some incredible deals because those guys have not even steamed up yet.
Yeah, John,
well
I'm so with you, man. Like this to me screams like Derrick Henry week, and it's hard to really see otherwise. Like unless they get up so large that they make it Tajay Spears week. Like,
yeah.
I mean, what goes wrong that Derrick Henry doesn't get 15 touches, and that's me being like I'm pulling it back a little bit. Like what if how is he not getting 15 carries in this game other than
you need like 2 Will Levis pick sixes and they're down. Like that's what you need for him to get.
Yeah, because I mean, even this defense of the Titans, like I mean, the Panthers are not right. Like the Panthers are not about to run it up on the Titans, right? Like that just seems so improbable to me. And I love Tajay Spears, but that's more of a 2024 thing. This is this is Derrick Henry at cost right now is to me just feels fantastic. But once again, there's just too many damn running backs for us to play this week. It makes it kind of tough.
And the other side of that game is like you can make a really nice small mini correlation with underpriced Adam Thielen right now. Like no Hayden Hurst. They don't really know what they're doing at the running back position. We saw that flip flop again and go back. Yeah, GA is on it right here. Yeah, this little mini stack. It's kind of been like that second and third round one that I've been targeting.
Yeah. That was the one we did a dog bowl draft on Tuesday on the club. And I think I took Derrick Henry and then realized I should have set it up before, but I even mentioned it there. I'm like, on paper, the Derrick Henry Thielen just makes so much sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
The show that we ran on Wednesday, I did a Ritter with London cheeky 5th, 6th round back stack there. I kind of like it. I don't know. How do you guys feel as like sneaky game environment with Falcons Saints? That's kind of been, I don't know, just playing it not through Olave and Kamara, and you can get some really cheap discounted pieces.
Yeah, I'm with you on it, John. That's been my break glass in case of emergency game. Like when I get distracted by the other skill positions, I miss out on the quarterbacks. I don't have something going with Baker or Minshew. And then it's like, all right, let's plug our noses and get to Derek Carr and Desmond Ritter stacks.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that this is like considered a pace up game, right? Like for
Gorman wrote that one up.
These NFC South matchups always gross me out. And I need to look at this one a little further. I mean, on the surface, I see Bijan Robinson going in the 20s, coming off his awesome game, and that to me feels like so good. And additionally, in dog bowls, because tight end is a wasteland, there is a nice hidden Jonnu Smith at like tight end like 14 that goes like after Noah Gray. That if like your little break glass comparison there, that the Jonnu Smith is there for you too.
Can I just ask real quick? What I saw that. What are we doing with this Noah Gray ADP? Is Clay?
I was going to say it's got to be a Clay psyop. I know tight end is bad, but like
there's like 9 tight ends who project more than him going after him. I was like, do people expect Travis Kelce to get hurt on the first play of the game? Like, what is going on?
This is what happens when the turkey and Thanksgiving slates are up to distract us, and then ADP is set by the Wild West. This is what we get.
That was like when I was making my notes, I was like, the very first thing I was like, I make my like red list of like the guys at the end of the draft who I think are like getting overdrafted relative to how often they go. And I was like, I mean, you literally cannot select Noah Gray going in like 100% of drafts. It's like the worst click on any slate of the entire year. Can't wait for him to go for 2.
I know. Book it.
Another one that potentially is on that list. We saw him get 11 targets last week and 3 drops. That Justin Watson ADP right now as well. Have you guys clicked him at all? Are you buying the usage? I'm sad I wasn't in on his game after being the picture this Justin Watson guy for so long, and then we didn't run a Thursday show for that Thursday night slate or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. You guys clicked him at all?
I haven't. I think the scenario I would click him is if I did like a Mahomes backdoor stack and I'm like, I take Rashee Rice and Justin Watson and just pray that this offense is functional for once in its goddamn life.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I heard also on the stochastic show with Spags did one this morning, and he was kind of talking about Tony a little bit. I think I would, if I had a Mahomes team built and I needed to tack on something there, I think I would probably do something like Tony, just because it's going to be very unique. And also just with this Vegas team, like I would be very surprised if this is like any sort of a game. And I could just see them kind of scheming up something for Tony in the red zone and just kind of like pulling something out of their hat, the way that they kind of like the 360 dunk on teams whenever they're just like up like this, just to like show off. Maybe that's more of a Bieniemy thing. But from the Chiefs side, man, once again, another running back that is like going cheap is like Pacheco with the 33 ADP. Like what?
Yeah.
What? The Chiefs, to me, it's a little bit of another flowchart play where the Chiefs defense is like, we believe is like top 10, maybe top 5, depending on who you are. Vegas has a rookie quarterback. They're a division rival. How is this not just like Pacheco, 25 touches, 2 touchdowns? I struggle to not see it.
Yeah, that's it. That's a pretty good shout there, Nez. The Vegas defense has given up 132.5 yards per game to the rush this year, which is 5th worst in all of football.
Yikes.
So if you just want to play that game through that, he's projecting really well on ETR stuff too. They have him as like the 4th running back in terms of redacted FD scoring. So yeah.
Another feather in that cap, Jerick McKinnon ruled out. And McKinnon,
tell me for the first time.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
They'll use McKinnon for some of those like gimmick touches in the red zone. They like him there. So like, that's always kind of your fear with Pacheco too, right? They do so much different stuff in the red zone. But that should probably boost his touchdown expectation a smidge as well.
Yeah, I like that one. Couple in the chat here. Has anyone clicked AT Perry yet? Sneak it in for that Michael Thomas role. Just replace MT with AT.
Only in the big boards. Haven't done it since.
You took him in the big boards?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I would just see, rookie, any rookie wideout with like a relatively cool name and from Purdue. I'll take.
So I have not, but he is going to be a guy that I want to give a look at, and I'll say why. So like the example is relative to Shaheed, right? Because Shaheed is going to be getting drafted in probably close to 100% of dog bowls, right? I haven't done enough, but he is? Yeah.
No, I would say like 82%. If I just guess based on Bobby's data in the past with the 35.9, I think it'd be like upper 80s. What did I say? 82? Okay. That's too low. I'd say upper 80s, like 86, 88.
Yeah, and I think Sacrilegious made this point on stat chasing, which was you should definitely like Rashid Shaheed. The role's been nice. He's getting a bigger target share. The air yards are still there, but you probably shouldn't be adjusting him up because of the Michael Thomas stuff. Like the role is going to be very similar. And then you look at AT Perry, whose role is coming on. He's going to get drafted in 1-2% of these contests. And so when you look at that, and then the other thing is I want to look at the type of player they are, right? Like Shaheed is going to be more boom bust. Like he's either going to break the slate probably or be a dud. Like it's not like you're getting Puka's target share in the 6th round or like a Christian Kirk in the 6th round where there's generally like a floor there. So I do think like this is the exact spot in the dog bowl where I would want to scroll past Shaheed and take AT Perry, unless I'm building out this massive Derek Carr portfolio and you like want that. But then again, thinking about how you layer this, then you go to the Battle Royale, and that's where you get all your Rashid Shaheed. He's not going to be getting drafted in the Battle Royale. Olave's the one who's going to be getting overdrafted. So you have this fucking Russian nesting doll of New Orleans Saints wide receivers, and you can get it in good on these guys relative to the contest structure.
I like that a lot. That's a really good, like just macro level shout to like put on a player example there to further layer on with your idea of the replacement role there. When we saw Michael Thomas get hurt, he only runs 4% of routes in week 10 there. A.T. Perry comes in and then runs 89% of routes, while Shaheed only played 81% of routes, which is kind of, he's kind of been all over the place, but based on like certain game plans and whatnot, but 83, 85, 52, 64, then 81. So yeah, just to your point, didn't see a huge uptick, and it was Perry going from irrelevant to basically role fill.
But this is why I appreciate the chat, because it's like I had the macro concept, but I hadn't like thought too long and hard about A.T. Perry. But considering how much I'm probably going to get funneled to that game this week, I am going to get myself some Perry here.
Like the other one, Adam bringing up the fact that Hollywood Brown didn't practice again today. So he hasn't practiced all week there, and Michael Wilson's already been ruled out. Maybe some sneaky more plus Greg Dortch, that sort of thing. I mean, Greg
That's
Dortch.
where we go. We're bringing Greg Dortch back. We're not bumping up McBride. We're instead.
Did you listen to the Gilcast? I mean, these guys called him like the goat of all goats. I felt the Greg Dortch steam late Sunday night.
Oh, that's why the Gilcast is goated. That's
Many have called him the poor man's Joshua Downs.
There it is.
Many. Big me this moment.
I will just say, like, I actually gotta like Greg Dortch too, but man, he feels like so much more of a redacted play to me, where that like 5 or 6 for 65 is just worth so much more.
Yeah, PPR cheat code style, opposed to searching for a touchdown and volume on our site.
Yeah, I'd rather just bring up Trey McBride into like the second round.
The
tight end is so gross.
The market will do that regardless.
Probably. Yeah. He's like surprisingly kind of like mishmashed with like the Evan Ingrams and the Dalton Schultzes at the moment. I believe. I don't think it's too. Yeah, he's tight end 3, but it's ADP 23, so it's still too low for given the fact that Cade Otton is tight end 8 behind Njoku and Kyle Pitts.
So would you be prioritizing tight end this week? Because it does fall off a cliff in a big way in the same capacity in which quarterback does. Because like if we believe what we've seen in terms of like, the role from these two rookies been, phenomenal. And then we can poke holes in Evan Ingram's red zone / low A dot role. David Njoku quietly had 14 targets last night.
Yeah.
Or 15 or last week had 15. With DTR there. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that one. Game environment play in Schultz, but if Noah Brown's back and Damian Pierce are back, you can poke holes in that one as like too many mouths to feed in that game. Now all of a sudden, should we be looking at Trey McBride as one-off tight end in the second round?
So I guess I think about this dynamic differently. And so my dynamic isn't, or how I think about it is not to push up the quarterbacks even more, but to be massively underweight the tight ends 6 to 12 and polarize it, where I want to continue to draft the top 6 tight ends, like at ADP, like not reaching, fade all of these guys in the 7 through 12 range who project very similarly to some of the tight ends in the 12 to 18, and then scroll down and take your Jawan Johnsons and your Mike Gesicki's or your Michael Mayers, even your like Kylan Gransons, if you're correlating, because I really don't think they project that differently to the fucking Noah Grays of the world. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Cause it's as much as like Dalton Kincaid makes me feel good. Like, I don't want to be like chasing him up into the first round just to like make sure I have a top 5 tight end or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's a really sharp way of looking at it. I'm glad you said that, Pete. I've definitely thought in that regard, but never articulated it like that. And I think that's pretty astute.
Yeah. I'm still giving so much premium to Dalton Kincaid, though. At the end of the day, okay. I think. If you look at these tight ends, look at the games, look at Dalton Kincaid. For me, it's just I'm just kind of flow charting, simplifying it there. And when it comes to these top 5, top 4 tight ends, like I am giving them so much more credence compared to like wide receivers in this range. Like I will do 2 tight ends this week, and I have done 2 tight ends this week, pairing either McBride and Kincaid or Kelsey and Kincaid or Kelsey and McBride. And I really like doing McBride as that second tight end, because when it comes to, if I'm missing out on these top 3 quarterbacks, then I can get Kyler paired with that, because Kyler has a rushing floor. And now, like, we've now have like a concentrated, target earner in McBride is part of that reason. So maybe I should just be doing this with single McBride instead and using that flex spot on one of these million running backs that are there. But I really do think that it provides leverage, because nobody goes 2 tight ends, especially this week.
Yeah. And the only other thing I'll say about the tight end, right? Like, if you look at the projections, basically Kelsey, Kincaid, and McBride are like the only guys who could realistically have a usable week without scoring a touchdown. I mean, like, be in the optimal without scoring a touchdown. Those are the only 3. The second you even get down to like the Evan Ingram, and I like Schultz. I think, like John said, Njoku with that target share, but like, those guys still need a TD, like, to get into the optimal. And then at that point, it's like, all right, I'll take my guy who's undrafted, who has maybe like a 10% less chance at a TD than Evan Ingram, like, going up against that, and try to just correlate the game environment. But I do agree, like, at the top, that Kincaid McBride, the little bully tight end at the turn there or something, could be fun.
That second round sweet spot for tight end does look more appealing now, especially with, if we go Tank's overpriced and we can get Nico later. If we go Cup is coming back here. If we just don't believe Devonta, can break a slate anymore, and that one's kind of over. You could play the Evans one through the Godwin, who's available later. You go Jake Browning with Chase. You go, never know what to expect with Devontae Adams, especially with both corners now expected. It looked earlier in the week that Snead might miss this game, but now he's practiced in full 3 straight days, and that's a tough matchup. It does become really appetizing to then click, these 2 tight ends in the middle range, and then fall back on some of these other wide receivers that are going to project quite similarly. Like, if you just 1v1 Nico at Kirk, Olave, Thielen versus like Adams, Chase, Pittman, like, the name value isn't there to the same extent, but I kind of think they're going to project similarly this week. So maybe just always aping that tight end in round 2 becomes a pretty viable strategy.
I agree. I think the opportunity cost there is very low. Layer in the running backs, though, because I guess then the other thought would be, like, if you go running back in 2-3, is there a way? But even like the Kamara and Barkley ADPs feel rich. I do like Swift a lot. Yeah. Swift, and Nez mentioned Bijan. So that would be the only thing of, like, not just always grabbing tight end there. Is like, you do want exposure, I think, to some of those 2-3 like turn type running backs. Kyren, I'll tell you guys right now, spoiler, once people start loading in the ETR ranks, I mean, Kyren's about to rocket up the draft board over the next 36 hours or whatever.
Any concern over, I mean, maybe this is something for your after dark stream with a coach speak index, but Kyren Williams, like the latest talk was McVay kind of throwing a little bit of water that we're not gonna give him all the touches when he gets back and whatnot, even though when he was in there, it was as if no other running back existed for the LA Rams, because his the amount of volume he got was absolutely ludicrous. They were kind of overly cautious about him. I think, all that to say, those comments are great for us, because I don't want to give any credence to those words, but hopefully it can kind of keep that suppressed. But the Kyren's probably more of a problem than 6th round Cooper Kupp, because Kyren Williams early in these dog bowls that's a
good point too.
Going late, but
yeah, he had the Q tag and nobody knew he was returning, and he was going really late. You're right.
So that's what this show has done. We've set up your anti-sweats. If you weren't, like, sacrilegious in here, who finishes dog bowl drafts by like Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. He says he finished. I was like, how many of these drafts even ran by then when you finish?
Is that even possible?
He's done drafting by when he goes like live on Stat Chasing on Tuesdays.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that's optimal, to be honest.
I've thought it through a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Like, there's bonuses on both sides. Right?
Yeah. No, there's definitely bonuses. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think about closing line value in these contests, like, very similar to JM's statement of salary doesn't matter when you flip the cards over, and now we're just worried about raw points. And I do think, Like closing line value doesn't necessarily like it could definitely be everything on some weeks, but other weeks it could be completely meaningless, right? So I think it's case by case specific. Maybe this slate would be amazing if you did 150 and you had Cup in the 5th or 6th round every single time or whatever, like just to paint an analogy. But yeah, I don't know.
I do agree with the take that the Chiron stuff is way more of a concern than the Cup too. And like you look at a lot of winning lineups in these 12 person and in these dog bowls this year. And like one of the kind of consistent cheat codes has been overlooked volume or undervalued volume late in these drafts. You saw what Barkley did last week. I feel like there's been multiple weeks where Rashad White was like free because of a bad matchup. And it's just like banking those touches in the 5th and 6th round and then supercharging it around a couple of, wide receivers who actually have a ceiling has felt like, at least to me, a bit of the meta this year in these dog bowl contests.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right there. I mean, maybe I've done it too much with Josh Jacobs, but like just like looking for like, being like, I don't know what the word is, but like being like less mindful of like the matchup and just aping into the volume given the depth of the player pool.
Right. And that's why I think, some of the early round and like probably what, Sacrilegious is building his own projections. And if you're building your own projections and you're not, factoring in matchup stuff just as much, and you're strictly looking at usage and projecting touches there. And obviously that stuff probably isn't fully capturing like the game flow and the pace stuff that gets ultimately like baked into ETR's projections by the very end of the week and helps you get some of those kind of like micro edges. But early in the week, I do think if you're just fucking chasing volume, you're probably going to be pretty well off.
Yeah. Does anything to add there? I'm gonna hit
volume is ultimately like one. I mean, just to be very transparent, is one of the biggest edges that you can get on here, and that's just the nature of the game because there is the RNG of your draft spot, the different textures that you get, the different drafters that.
Well, we're talking about two different kinds of volume.
Oh, so I apologize. You're talking.
We were talking about like player usage.
I bet like player like.
Sorry.
No.
I'm to address that. Like I've not been on the Josh Jacobs stuff because of the volume. Like that to me is like meaningless. I don't want that volume. I don't want volume on bad teams.
Sure.
Yeah. The what was I gonna say? Now I'm forgetting. Sorry.
Let me hit Crutch's context here because I think it's really important to the conversation we've been having. 90% of Cup this week. He's been in the majority of drafts. He's trying to 150 this. I know that. And he's saying Cup going between 25 and 45, and he never saw Kyron Williams go past 4th. So that's pretty good context for us.
And also the thing too, when he says 90% of the week, that also translates to 25% of the contest. Just to be clear, that's how that ratio works out.
Yeah. Any last final thoughts? Scroll the F downs, crazy thoughts. Do you guys have any thoughts on like, it's weird to see Jamar Chase going in the middle of the 2nd round. Like I couldn't fault you if you just said, hey, I want to have a 100% Jamar Chase at ADP 15 this week, but is Jake Browning just so bad? I mean, I watched him for 4 years at UW and he can throw from outside hash to far side sideline. So, I definitively knew that, but maybe he's gotten better.
You've watched him for 4 years. I watched him for 3.5 hours on Thursday Night Football. And my hand in the dirt take was fucking Trenton Irwin is his favorite target. Dude just has eyes for Trenton, the backup, shower narrative or whatever, like to the point where it felt like a legit concern how much he was getting peppered. And again, if you look at, I was like looking at the RotoViz matchup rater, it really likes this slot matchup for them as well. And again, not saying Jamar Chase isn't going to get scheme touches and get his looks and stuff, but like you add in like all of those variables and it's like, man, I don't know if I like Jamar Chase's price tag right now.
Okay.
It feels tough. JPZ is going to be shadowing him too.
Good shout.
Per our beat writers over in Pittsburgh from Nick Farabaugh, who's one of my favorite beat writers in all of football. Thankful to have him in Pittsburgh. He's saying JPZ is going to be shadowing Jamar Chase this week, but there is no Minka, so I mean it's not there is that, and I think I'm more into like maybe Joe Mixon this week. Just, I think maybe leaning on the ground game. The Steelers are extremely banged up at linebacker. That is not going to change because a lot of these guys are out for the season. So I think Joe Mixon could probably score this week and maybe get you like 15 to 18 just on volume. But that game,
he could definitely get you 12 points. That's for damn sure.
might be what you need this week, man. We might be looking at like a 120 dog bowl winner this week.
Yeah, I like that. You guys got eyes on the ball game right now? Has Tim Boyle eclipsed his 8 fantasy points higher lower yet?
I did pull up our pick of entries that we built the other night to see how that was going, and I believe he's at 0.92 fantasy points right now, so on a great pace.
Oh, he just completed a pass, so he just like quadrupled that, I think.
Yeah. The thesis for Tim Boyle was always garbage time, Tim Boyle.
Oh, right.
That's right.
Yes, of course.
Always.
Hey, did you guys know that there's 2 Michael Carters on the Jets?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that
Jets?
until I was looking at the practice report today, and I was like, did they cut the wrong one? Because the other one's inactive today. He's like a cornerback or something like that. And I was like, did they cut the wrong one? Like, what's up here?
It always threw me off.
Remember what was it? Was it like a couple years ago when the Josh Allen versus Josh Allen game and like the national media just like lost its goddamn mind? Like 2 players with the same name in the same game and one sacking the other one. I mean, they were writing think pieces about that for like a month.
Oh, simpler times. Simpler times.
I think Gretsch wrote something today. I haven't read it yet. I saw it in the inbox though, that he wrote like something about evolution of like fantasy football or something. And I think just sports media in general, like going from times of like that being like a driving story in mainstream media versus like how even like we on this show just talk about ball, right?
Yeah. Did you see Denny Carter's tweet from yesterday? That also made me think of it. He goes, yesterday he goes, fantasy football analysis in 2011. This guy had 8 targets last week. Fantasy analysis in 2023. His TPRR has been 1.9% higher against cover 3 over the last 2 weeks, though his route participation is higher against man.
It's so spot on, man.
Oh, that's not even like a joke.
It's not a joke. It's literally what happened.
This guy had 8 targets last. That's so good.
Have you gone back and ever like read anything you wrote RotoViz back in the day? Like, have you reread anything like that?
Well, the stuff I did at RotoViz back in the day was like either comedic or like chronicling our ship chasing teams. I wasn't doing like much analysis. Yeah. But it's very bad. It like, even on that same note, more macro, like I saw Ercolano and Settleman, they do their podcast Big Content, and they had pulled up some clips from when they first started just doing on camera stuff, and just you see how raw and how green and how bad you are when you first start out. So yeah, that's true for everything, right? When you first start doing something, and it does not normally age gracefully.
Yeah, fair enough. I had like a share a memory thing pop up on my phone from like Twitter from like 8 years ago of like the first thing I ever wrote for Fantasy Pros, and it was like an Eddie Lacy piece or whatever, and I retweeted it like a month ago. That was good.
I read that.
Oh, it was dead ass exactly what Denny's talking about though. Like the analysis is like how many targets he had, how many carries. Now he's coming off IR. Look for him to be back. Kind of like you just read it and it's like it's fine, but it's like by today's standard, it's like complete dog shit that everybody knows.
I mean,
right?
He was the original XFP darling. Like that, Eddie Lacy was the original inefficient king, and
even back in like RotoViz, who was on like the bleeding edge of a lot of like the advanced metric stuff. I mean, I remember Fantasy Douche writing up the Kelvin Benjamin year, and he's just like, this guy's going to get 1 million targets. Like, just take him in the 10th round of all of your drafts. And like, that was the analysis was dead ass correct. You didn't need a bunch of advanced metrics. Everyone's like, well, he's fat and he's slow and he was just like, dude, he's going to get a shit ton of targets. Just draft him. And he was right.
Yeah. That's good. Shall we dog bowl it up? All
Let's do it.
I'll give you guys an opportunity here to
I have some big time goals of how many drafts I want to get in. And I'm going to have to, it's going to be an interesting 48 hours here for me to hit how many I want to get in.
I know my wife thinks that the drafting is done. Oh no, that was just the Thanksgiving slate, sweetheart. Let me explain to you how this week works. Okay.
Question, put on Where do you think Cooper Kupp goes in this draft, and where do you think his closing line ADP is in dog bowl drafts by lock?
I think he flips Puka, but the ADP never gets there. So I think people will draft him over Puka at like, 10, 11, kind of after this front end range goes. I could see people taking him over Travis Etienne. We haven't talked about Etienne yet, but a little bit of FUD there right now. I could see people getting like greedy with it like that. I think I personally won't take him inside of the top, I would say 14. 14 is where I would take him.
What about you, Nez?
I think around pick 20, I think people start to want to get him before their third round pick. And so I think we're going to see him like late, as far as dog bowls go, late second is what I would do. I'm not going to take him at 1-2 here. And that's not just gamesmanship.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, do you think Puka's ADP ends up just being too rich the rest of the drafting window because it'll be so sticky ADP wise and he won't ever really slide that much?
Yes.
I kind of like Puka more than Cooper Kupp. Like kind of what we talked about, just like seeing what we've seen of Cooper Kupp, knowing that he is dealing with an injury, let alone not even the injury that he was dealing with at the beginning of the season, a brand new injury. We saw Puka, like Puka, not a lot has changed with Puka. Like, that might come back to bite me, but I think I'm like more Puka here. Like, what about a Kupp, decoy narrative here? I'll play that.
Well, as someone who might end up taking Puka here at 110, it's I mean, the thing too is like, just look at the wide receivers going after him. Right. I mean, you lose it quick.
Nico Collins is about to get a pretty big bump in my rankings. Probably an ADP as well. But I mean, I don't see it. Like, I think he's got to be damn near neck and neck with Jamar Chase this week in projections, right? Even if it's not your own thought process on him, let alone an actual projection source. It just seems like, man.
I mean, Nez, you're going to have to talk this through. I'm feeling it here, but do you agree? I mean, like the end of these 12-person drafts, at least with the ADPs and players right now, is pretty gross.
You're talking like 70s in this, or like
no, sorry, I'm saying like where we're picking right now.
Right now, yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah, right now it's the worst. Like I'm strongly considering Dalton Kincaid right now.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like a stupid pick here, just with how wide open it is.
Yeah, I'm wondering about this Kyron stuff. He's practicing in full. I think for me, this is going to be
3 days.
Yeah, I think this is going to be Kincaid and Kyron. And
I was going to take Kyron if you didn't.
And I'll just do something extremely disgusting for my QB stack.
Yeah. Since let's see what Jod does here, Joe Donnell. Took Kelsey there. I do think I will. I'll go ahead and join the elite tight end here. I don't know how much I'll end up doing this, but I'll grab McBride to go with Puka.
Ooh, I like the aggressive stance.
I tried it on Wednesday's stream to push, Kyler around with it when you notice that the front end of the draft board has taken quarterbacks already, and you just kind of hope nobody takes him, naked or whatever. I think it's like super viable 2-3. There's Cooper Kupp going at 18.
Yep.
Man,
I mean,
I think that's fine.
It's kind of an interesting like 1v1 in that range, like Cooper Kupp versus, Smith, Kamara, Saquon, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like, in the McBride. I don't know how much I'll continue to take him there too, but just using the tiebreaker as
John, you're on the clock. Sorry,
in that game. Oh yeah, John, you're
on
the clock.
Didn't look like you were.
No, I'm looking at my sheet over here, deciding between. I think I'm just going to take Kamara and see what happens. Just hope that an 11 ADP paired with Travis Kelce is rare.
Yeah,
feels rare.
Yeah, both. How different I know this has been a topic of conversation too. And even like when people load in ranks, that the ranks that most people are using, if like you're using ETRs, are catered toward battle royale, and that there are things in those ranks that push up the onesies, like necessarily based on 6 players getting drafted versus 12. Do you guys like the edge in that the ADP is just the same in here, or do you think it would be valuable for these contests to have their own ADP, the 12 person?
I think it'd be valuable.
Yeah,
Sorry,
me too.
sorry,
That's where I'm at.
No. We're in full agreement. I think it would help. It's nice for us. I think that we do gain an edge if you are like extremely dialed in. You're aware of different nuances, but they're just different. They're so different that you really do. And maybe that's something that's, I'm not sure where it is on the priority list of things to change. But yeah, I'm sure at some point we will get a unique ADP, but I don't know that for certain.
Chalk Dog John just decided that we're playing the ADP hits right here, and we are just going. Hopefully, this is a unique GM. Jake Brown and good UW boy gonna figure it out.
Just draft superstars and let everything else, figure itself out.
The Underdog NFL account getting a little spicy. So Tua just turned the ball over for a defensive touchdown, which if you're like have any DFS skin in the game, chances are you fully faded the Jets. So that's probably good for you. But Underdog NFL said Tua turned the ball over has entered the chat. That's
nice.
I hadn't heard that. That's funny.
I don't even think that's Noah on that account either.
Yeah, I was about to say Noah's been drinking early.
Noah's not afraid to get spicy. Respect for him for his posts.
All right, it's week 12. I don't even know who I am anymore. Selecting Adam Thielen.
Ooh,
let's go.
Well, Crutches just said one in the chat there that he would take Thielen straight up over Cup and Puka this week. So
why not both?
Yeah, why not both?
John, I want to just walk the people through what I'm looking at here. Can you go to the queue and just just pull up quarterbacks?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even scroll. Just look at this.
You're looking at some big time ballers right there. Baker double, buddy, easy game. 2 tight end. Otton,
Godwin.
And Godwin.
Easy game.
Easy game.
Easiest game to ever live. Oh my God, man. All right, so this is going to be really gross and breaking some etiquette here. We're going to start off with a little Gabe Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Oh Jesus, man.
Why is that breaking etiquette? We already established they're on your board. You're allowed to take them without.
I know. I just always I'm scared. I don't want to step on any toes here, Pete. Let's go back. Nice. People forget. Josh Downs has some good games under his belt. We'll go Downs. We'll go Downs there.
Crash Rich agrees with you, man. He's been clicking them.
Oh, the infamous Crash Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes
would you suggest that you're excited to meet him in Miami, Nez?
Maybe I am. I won't even know. He probably won't even reveal his identity. I'm just gonna have to like parse together. Like, are you like him and Beretta just seem so anonymous that they might have a pack agreement to like not admit who is who, and then we're just left guessing. Who did I just meet?
I wish Feed the Freezer was gonna be there.
Yeah. See, this is the spot too where it's like I kind of have a wide receiver I like, but I don't really have any stacking partners. So I like need to take a running back just to keep a stack option for whatever gross ass quarterback I end up selecting.
Yeah, I've done that too, just to keep that door open, just in case I want like a let's see here, maybe a Tommy DeVito, Wan'Dale Robinson.
You had that A.T. Perry shout out. It might be joining the squad here.
Yeah.
You can pair him with Taysom Hill if you'd like to. Who's to say? Who goes like every draft, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Good on that.
Yeah, me too, actually. And I'm the resident Taysom guy.
Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad day. It's a sad day.
Interesting to see the Singletary ADP still holding with like the Dame Pierce guaranteed to play thing. I mean, they clearly like him for like that preview to some of the pick'em stuff that I was looking at. But Dame Pierce only had like a 23.5 higher lower, and I think Singletary was like 44.5. something like that.
Really?
I mean, that's pretty low for a dude who's going in the 4th round every single draft in these.
It seems like a stay away, but like that offense also is like clicking, that it does seem like either of those guys have like a mystery box ceiling there, but it's definitely makes things murky whenever we got both of them active, and this changing of the guards seemingly, and it does spook me a little bit, or not even a little bit, a lot of it.
Yeah.
All right, John, what are you cooking up?
It was gonna be Deontay Johnson, and then Warren fell all the way back, and you get like a little mini correlation off the Chase game. I think I like Warren more.
Warren catches passes too. If you need his pass thrower.
Yeah, it's like it gives you outs, right? I was thinking about my other cheeky out, because I kind of know what I want to do with this last pick. The other one there, I mean, like Jacobs is just a volume monster. I know he hasn't gotten home, but
it is getting late. That's the thing. Like I just see him like, oh man, like these 8 Josh Jacobs points, like should really, feed the fam, but it just feels so bad. Can't do it, man. That pick is active tag's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. Do we know that Mac Jones is going to be the quarterback for certain this week?
Nope.
No,
right?
I don't think we do.
It's very ambiguous. They asked Bill Belichick point blank, and of course he didn't budge. He said everybody's being prepared this week. Ask him again. Who the fuck is starting a quarterback, Bill Belichick? Everybody's being prepared to play. So they could do a little zappy in the red zone, a la Trey Lance. Who knows?
Yeah, or they could do like Malik Cunningham, who they cut and then signed back to the practice squad, and then now they, he's a little bit of that like hybrid role, gives him something different that they haven't had before. A little wildcatty, can run a little bit, like that kind of vibe. Be there, Taysom. I don't know.
I mean, why at this point? Like, why not? They're so out of options.
I think I'm gonna try and sneak it through, and see that I don't get sniped on my Desmond Ridder skinny here. If I do, we're gonna have to pivot.
Is this a Taysom Hill viable in Dog Bowl week?
You lose the leverage though because he's getting drafted every time.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing is, like we talked about it on Wednesday a little bit there, where it was like you could see him filling in as like a little bit more of a pass catching role without Slant Boy there, right? And that boosts his floor a little bit there. And then Kendre Miller ankle as well. So, maybe there's a couple little more backfield snaps for him as well. But I think I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of like the leverage isn't as readily available when he's getting drafted frequently.
Nez and I are going to be fighting for some absolute scraps at quarterback.
This is going to suck.
Actually, you might be fine. So I thought Birdie Dirts was going to take Stafford because he didn't have a quarterback and took Cup. And so then I thought I was going to really have to improvise, but I'm already building around this game. So I'm just going to go ahead and take Stafford with Puka here.
It feels like we've talked about Stafford's ceiling, like not necessarily being there this year, but it feels like the kind of week where if you prioritize the skill positions early and you win at tight end, you only need 10 or 11 points from your quarterback potentially, unless, Josh Allen goes nuke and breaks the slate.
Yeah. And I will also say, like, I think this is how a lot of my rosters are going to look. And so far my drafts have looked at this where it's like, I have like 5 guys from this Rams Cardinals game that I'm just going to be attacking games.
Yeah.
All right, let's play the infamous Colts Bucks shootout here. We're gonna do Gardner Minshew, bada bing, bada boom. This last pick is where things get interesting. All the running backs here are pretty much like off my board. Rondale Moore is definitely interesting. A little bit of a run back there off of my Kyron Williams. But Rashid Shaheed and Deontay Johnson too. I just think probably are better picks. We're gonna go Deontay. 6th round Deontay just feels like a gift in this gross of a slate.
Leah, we're in lockstep. I'm gonna take the other Steelers wide receiver here, a little George Pickens.
Yeah, a little bit of
course.
leverage there with the pick and stuff because he's probably been going undrafted the majority of time because he had the Q tag until right now too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fully off the injury report, I believe I saw.
This Jets Dolphins game is off the chain. We've got two
What's going
defensive
on now?
scores. Tim Boyle gets a chance to throw a Hail Mary because of a Tua interception with like 2 seconds left, bombs it to the end zone, pick 6 for Miami.
A pick
A
six Hail
Mary.
Yeah,
Oh,
100-yard
God.
return.
That's insane.
Too much.
Oh,
Too much.
Holland, dude, good Canadian boy. There you go.
And I had the under in that game, so that's not fun.
Jesus.
We're still live, but you know, when the thesis is just like so strong and then you get 2 defensive scores, I mean, just hate to see it. I mean, are you gonna? Okay, I was gonna say I didn't know if you were gonna do some bits here. I guess Russ against the Browns isn't like the worst. I know that it's the Browns, but Russ is playing like a little better, a little bit, right?
Dude, that game kind of like Loki goes undrafted because you got Ford, Sutton goes undrafted a good amount. I mean, Sutton's touchdown streak's a little bit ridiculous. Judy had like a bounce back game there. I mean, the D line versus O line mismatch is crazy, but you know, the Broncos have quietly won 4 in a row and low key could push for a playoff spot.
I mean, with Sean Payton
there. Well, and I kind of like, so if you are taking, you know, I think like Javonte is probably a good example too, where it's like, if he's having a smash game, like a tournament winning game, the Broncos offense is probably doing decent. He also catches some passes. So I don't even mind. And again, we're just trying to get to like 15 or 16 points with these last round quarterback selections.
Right. Yes.
Where I do think that correlation just carries a ton of weight on a slate like this.
Yeah, good shout. The Darius Slayton D tag, does anybody like you know, any late Giants pass catchers?
Not particularly, but I'm a sucker for a little Wandale. How's high? Is he? I'm not even familiar.
He went undrafted there, but he was like ADP 36 or something, 34. Wide receiver.
He's healthy. I feel like he's, you know, his injury status, but yeah, undrafted doesn't feel like anything there is worth getting to.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the Judy one feels fun, like the bet on talent angle back here.
Like, what about
Judy really hard? Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Entirely fair.
I'm a disciple of Matt Harmon, so I don't do.
If you were, so to your point, John, like if you do the talent one down there, I mean, it's like do you click Jacoby? Honestly, even Elijah Moore, like Denver's been so bad. Elijah Moore's been, I mean, it's tough though. I mean, there's a reason all these guys are going down here.
Yeah, man, Alec Pierce has to catch a ball eventually, right?
Yeah, man. I thought he was going to take that leap. I thought for sure he was going to take that leap.
Well, we were. It's funny. We were after we went to that the little bar that we were having those tequila things in Vegas there that was inside the Park Hotel.
Yeah.
After some people went to bed or whatever, Pat and I were sitting at the bar there showing our exposures to each other for BBM. And we were celebrating, victory lapping, cheers, holding hands like, yes, we're both on Alec Pierce this year. 18%. Me too, man. Like big celebratory. Like this is going to be what we need. Alec Pierce, Anthony Richardson. Holy fuck.
It makes sense.
Directionally accurate, Josh Downs. Directionally accurate.
Yes.
Oh, man. I just vivid memory of that. Just, oh, God, that aged poorly. Should we do our infamous pick'em entry and call it, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm itching.
Yes,
I'm itching.
Okay,
I think let's do our new kind of normal a game stack and then kind of a mashup of our favorites here.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we should start with the sexiest game just to see what they're pricing it at with Eagles and Bills.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was gonna say sometimes too, the sexiest game that people don't think is sexy. So I also want to take a look at a Colts Bucks. I think we should look at too.
No doubt, no doubt.
That's when Ned said the sexiest game, I thought we were going straight to Colts Bucks.
Well, not on profile on paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is like fun to build out from like a flowchart perspective, where we play like the Bills passing game and then like DeAndre Swift on the bring back. That's how I played the Monday night one. DeAndre Swift did his job. Fucking Rashi Rice coming a half yard short did not do his job. But I do kind of like that angle of playing like 4 Bills pass catchers and like DeAndre Swift or something like that.
There doesn't even seem to be too steep of projections on these Bills pass catchers.
That Shakir number seems nice.
Oh yeah.
You looking at just the receiving one?
Yeah, the 29.5.
Yeah, he had a nice big uptick last week.
Philly has just been getting demolished over the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, very much so.
Like him and Kincaid, I think if you do go that route, you put those two in.
Do you think it's not to go football bro for half a second here, but do you think it's a byproduct of having a really effective, good pass rush in a base 4-3 that opens up the middle of the field so much in the modern game?
I could talk just like a teeny sliver of ball, but you're above my pay grade on that one.
Well, you know what I mean? Like if you look at these teams that are elite at rushing the passer, so like the Niners, the Eagles, the Steelers, the Chiefs almost to an extent, like what is their biggest problem? They all get gashed over the middle of the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just kind of like my
cover 2 issue too, right?
Yeah, good shout. Yeah.
To get back to this here, sorry, I'll just for Diggs. I feel like Diggs should be a play if we go this route.
Yes,
and I'm not sure if I kind of feel like I do kind of like receptions on Diggs here, just because this matchup is like very vulnerable against the pass. Diggs' last 2 games is like kind of down in receptions. I just see a little bit of like, the squeaky wheel that hasn't necessarily squeaked, but I feel like the pass volume is totally going to be there.
Okay.
The other thing there, his ADOT and air yards have like cratered. I just pulled up the game hub. So like he had like 30% of the air yards, or like the sample, he was above 30% for almost the entire season. Week 9, 19%, week 10, 15%, week 11, 16%. Like his role like has changed a bit. So I'm agreeing with you of going the receptions instead of like the yards angle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like it. And then the natural pairing here will be Josh Allen passing yards or passing attempts.
You can't do attempts with receptions.
I think we do yards. And then one thing I've been liking to do, and I did this, is like then pick him with like the more volatile guy. Like, so I think Gabe Davis, right? Like if we can get over this yards, we want them hitting for a big play. And this number from Gabe Davis is pretty nice too at 30.
He can do this on 1 catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we like going the volatility route with Gabe versus like more projectable with Kincaid in terms of like 5 receptions.
I think so. Because we're playing the yards with Allen, like we need him to get to these yards, and we're already playing Diggs as a little bit lower. So like one of Gabe or Dalton has to smash on yards. And I would probably prefer to, if we were doing like one-off stuff, do like Kincaid receptions, but with this mega, I kind of like Gabe yards.
Like it. Okay. And then the other side of the ball is going to be Eagles and Swift. Yeah.
I think so.
Swift looks so good.
It was a bummer too, because he didn't get a ton of carries last week. I think it ended up stopping at 12, which is why do they even have a rushing attempts for him? They don't even have that up.
No, just yeah.
And they honestly, I wouldn't even get tempted by the rush receiving line just because they're not using him a ton there. I'd probably just play that 58.5. You get like one 25, 30-yard chunk play, and that's there.
Yeah, I kind of like them just in that game too, just like in general, to beat the Bills, which obviously would set up for a better script for Swift if they are leading the majority of the game, and which is kind of what we're assuming here.
Did they have a fantasy points number for him? Because that's the other nice out for Swift. He had
I would
that
love
touchdown.
that. Not yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they do not yet.
It seems like they're gonna. I would probably his fantasy points. I wonder what they'll set it at. I could see it. I was thinking like 11.8 on
11.6, yeah.
But they might even do something frothier than that.
So like last against the Chiefs, who are definitely a little bit more of a run funnel just because their pass is so good. He had the 76 yards receiving, but they're still top 10 against running backs. And then you go and look at the Bills, and the Bills are like bottom 10. So I think it matches up pretty well. I like that 58.5. And it plays to our game script, right, too. Like we for this to hit, ideally we have a bit of a Philly lead early and Josh just chucking it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The two thesis being either they run it up quick and early and then you go Swift on the pass catching bring back, or the inverse of that being they score first rushing yards and then Josh is playing catch up. I like that narrative better.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm cool with this. Yeah, this is an easy one for the correlation. I like.
And also, numbers. I'm not opposed to the two correlation ones if we want to look at
got to check out that game.
Also, if you guys are watching, I know most of you are probably already BadgeBros subscribers. Make sure you are subscribed, though. If you came over from my channel after the block party, as we mentioned last week, Off and On the Clock will be here under the BadgeBros umbrella going forward every Friday, the usual time, a few minutes late as I come over from the block party show. But always love doing this show, have a blast, and I feel like we've been pretty dialed in of late. So excited for another big week here for us.
We're really hitting our stride here. And with this game, for me, this starts with Rachaad White, who I think is just like a fantastic click. A volume merchant, but like the volume is there. This seems like a really good matchup. These numbers though are definitely like tough, like as far as a pick 'em though it goes.
And I feel like with White, it's just so scary to do it on rush yards alone, with just his lack of efficiency. I feel like it has to be combined or just playing receiving yards.
For sure. Receptions is kind of interesting to me.
Or you spice it up with the TD, right? If you're playing that game to get nutty, you just spice up the TD.
Yeah, and then you don't care which way it comes. And they've been using him almost exclusively at the goal line too.
So he had like that he had that stretch, right? Like he's turned into like a monster recently, right? Like he had this stretch like against the Bills. He only had 9 rushing attempts, 13 before that, 7 versus the Lions. Then they against the Texans, 20 carries, Titans 20 carries, back down against the Niners, a little bit to be expected against that run defense, still has 6 receptions. Like him turning into like the full-blown bell cow. And over that stretch, 2 TDs against the Texans, didn't score versus the Titans, but they're pretty stout against the run, and then still did have the rushing TD against the Niners. So like I do like his touchdown expectation a bit here. And actually, sorry, he did have a touchdown against the Titans. It was a passing touchdown.
Yeah.
So he's had, since this role has kind of changed, he's had a touchdown every week.
Let's do it. I like it. I like him in general now. It's kind of sad I was out on him in the offseason there. I thought he could be, usurped by some of the talent behind him. But now Keyshawn Vaughn's been inactive and stuff like that. And like Chase Edmonds doesn't push him for early down work at all. Sean Tucker's not a factor anymore. I like it, man.
Isn't it wild that we're at a point where the Rachaad White and Mike Evans TD expectation relative to the Spice is the exact same, 1.5x?
Yeah, pretty well.
Yeah. I was not foreseeing this in the offseason in the summer.
Yeah,
it's not on my bingo card.
Do we want to kind of play this how we did the other one and just now kind of like onslaught Colts passing game? Play the flow chart.
I like the Colts passing game a lot here.
You guys like Colts passing game more than the Tampa side of the ball?
Well, we just have the Rachaad White rushing touchdown, so
we could.
Yeah,
I do agree in that maybe, we felt much better with like a triple stack of Allen and that other one where maybe we don't feel comfortable with a Minshew triple stack to where we pick one more piece on Tampa.
Yeah.
And do like a double stack with Minshew.
Alec Pierce, 2 receptions, 27.5. Dear God.
I love the Downs.
Yeah, I love the Downs.
I think Downs.
Which do you guys prefer?
Well, look at the Minshew first, right? Because ultimately we're going to put these guys with something with Minshew. I guess they're only giving us pass yards.
I'm cool with that.
243.5.
I think so, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me.
If the game plays to the script in which we're.
All right, I'll read off some of the recent passing yard totals against the Bucs. Last week, Brock Purdy 333, Will Levis only 199, CJ Stroud 470, Josh Allen 324. Let's see what maybe I don't want to look at this. Desmond Ritter even got to 250. So if Desmond Ritter's getting to 250, we're locking in Minshew. That's all we need to do here.
Full-fledged pass funnel.
Yeah, and Rachaad White's getting a score on the ground, so it's gonna, push the game a little bit. We like it.
Now, Downs, do you like do receptions?
I always default to it with Downs, like that player, but maybe I'm not giving his ADOT enough credit. I know it's been kind of like trending in recent memory. Let me confirm my priors there.
My only
interesting.
The only reason I kind of lean. His ADOT really popped in week 10. He had 26% of the air yards. My only thing is if we are trying to get Minshew to this, like he is probably needing us to get one big play, and assuming we don't get like a Michael Pittman screen pass suck out touchdown like he did against against the Saints. I kind of like the yards.
What happened here with the routes? Like the week 9 was the game that he got hurt. And then week 10 was the game that we didn't think he was going to play, but then he still ended up playing.
Yes.
And now he's had a bye week to get healthy. Okay.
Is it weird? It seems kind of counterintuitive, but like Josh Downs yards and Michael Pittman receptions.
Play it that.
Michael Pittman say that 3 straight games with 8 receptions.
The 71.5 did seem a little frothy.
Yeah, he's been getting like his targets per run last week, and I know this was with like a banged up Downs, 42%.
And we're basically playing it the same way we're playing him as the Diggs, where it's like we don't necessarily trust that like the ADOT or like the super big play there. And I feel comfortable playing Pittman.
It's just the volume, right? We just think that they're going to be in a situation where they're passing. But man, Downs 48.5.
Does that seem high to you, or you like it?
It does kind of seem high to me.
But I'm telling you, if we're playing Pittman receptions and we think 48's high, how is Minshew getting us to 244 yards?
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
Alec Pierce, don't get John and Pat started.
I'm just like, it's just the recency. It's just the recency bias for me creeping into my brain. Like
I love this spot for Josh Downs. I think
okay. Let's roll then. Let's roll. I'm probably cool with this here, unless we want to do like Jonathan Taylor, like receiving yards.
I guess that would be an angle.
I think it might be thin. I think I'd rather go to the other side and
let's
go
find
like
another buck.
Do the Palmer or I don't know. There's like an outlying. Let me confirm before I say this and look like an idiot. But there is an outlying scenario where Godwin's not like 100%, right?
I did not know that.
LP all week. That's probably fine. Never mind. 3 straight days of LP. I don't know. Our guy Wu-Tang Killer B is just talking up Trey Palmer, saying Indy versus perimeter wide receivers. And this is the man who gave us the D'Amico Ryans, boys. This is something we got to listen to here.
I'm with James here, man. I'm on the 4.5 Mike Evans receptions. I mean, the dude get peppered with targets, And I know that like he's got his hands, and these targets are not necessarily like layup targets, but the fact that they're just there and the way that we're looking at this game, like certainly Mike Evans is catching more than 4 footballs in this game.
Yeah.
If we paint this game, yeah, I think you're definitely right.
Yeah, he's only the last time, or he's had one game under 4 receptions since October 1st.
Wow.
Yeah, and last week was a bit of an outlier as well. Only 55% of his targets were catchable per fantasy life, but
yeah,
still well over 20% 28% targets per route run. Yeah.
Here's what you do. You take whatever unit you were going to place on this, and you do about 75% on this one with Mike Evans, 4.5 receptions. And then you do the exact same entry, subbing out Evans, and you throw in the double spice. You put in the Evans TD.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you separate it a little bit.
All right.
Thank you, Advisor Pete.
Yeah. There we go. Because again, I'm just looking at Mike Evans. I mean, he's had one game since October 15th that he didn't score a touchdown.
Oof.
And he dropped one. He dropped one in that game. Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of what makes this what makes this matchup so fun is like the Bucs side is extremely concentrated, and they actually I'm late to our Bills onslaught. Diggs is now at 6.5 receptions. Go figure. Thank you, Oaks.
You were late. You got on the bad side of the steam we caused.
Too late, man. I'm not dialed in like I should be, I guess.
Michael Pitt's receptions and Josh Downs yardage again.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that checks out. All right, let's do it.
All right. I gotta move quickly and get this in the chat.
I know.
And Nez here.
Let's go. We're in. I'm not missing out on this one.
See, you guys are better when I try to say like, okay, let's kind of split the unit size. Like when I do it with Pat and Gretch, and Pat's just like, oh, just do 50 on both of them. I'm like, no, the point is we're like de-risking a little bit relative to, and they just don't understand that concept. I guess that's what happens when you win best.
Pat certainly can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
No chance. It's 50, Pete. Come on. We're in there. All right, let's go.
All right. These are fun.
And
then do we want to wrap up with a hodgepodge?
The best plays?
Just play the best plays.
Are you looking for Elias Pettersson right now, John? What are you looking for?
Mr. Pettersson. No, I was looking for Cordero.
For a pick'em?
Yeah, I'm just looking
what kind of alpha do you got?
I'm looking at some weird stuff on the side here. I was just curious.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
I want to see that Atlanta stuff for a second.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
13 fantasy points for Ritter. That's low.
What's London at?
8.
London's is like the exact same as Downs, 2 yards higher than Josh Downs.
I kind of like these fantasy points, like these pick'ems. So I'm gonna just search by fantasy points over on my end and see what's like sticking out. That's like such a fun way to kind of attack these. Give you a lot of different outs.
Yeah, and let's do our normal thing of like who are some guys. I mean, like Downs honestly was one of them, and I thought we've already put 2 into our entries that I wouldn't mind doing as one-offs, and it's like Downs and Shakir. I think are 2 that I really like.
Here's something interesting. What do you think the difference is between Tank Dell and Nico Collins in the fantasy points projections?
Oh, here we go. Is this like our DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett?
Something like that.
It feels like it.
But mind you, Tank Dell is a top 5 pick on Underdog.
Tank Dell's 11.8 and Nico Collins is 10.3.
I mean,
yeah, my guess is I know where this is going, and it's far closer than their ADPs would suggest.
I mean, John nailed it. 11.9 for Tank Dell and 10.3 for Nico.
Actually, 10.3.
Actually, 10.3.
Anomaly that I actually get. That's just
no. We're just way too.
We spend way too much time on this site.
Yes, and watching football. that you can nail a projection. You don't even need a source anymore. That's
more for the dog
pretty
bowl.
wild. That is pretty wild.
I need to go see my family in a second, but that was a very tempting offer, KG.
Okay, so there's only a couple games up with fantasy points right now, but one of them is Rashid Shaheed at 6.5 fantasy points.
So I'm on board with that.
You win when you win guy.
I would just say, like, we have to correlate it with Carr if we do.
Carr's only 14.
That
7.75.
We could run a little mini, do like a Carr Shaheed Bijan kind of thing. But are there any other one-offs? Like, you guys mentioned the tight end stuff, right? We already talked about Kincaid. Should we take a peek at McBride?
Yeah.
Yeah, McBride's they're not cheap, but like McBride's 51.5 receiving yards.
Spicy's only 1.5 for Taysom. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. We were going to McBride.
Yeah, 51.5 seems pretty damn efficient.
I still think it's a good one. I mean, if you factor in that you got Q-Tag, Brown still, you got Wilson out. I mean,
I will also just say, if you want to do the little the DVP thing, Rams 7th worst on the year against tight ends.
Ooh.
Sell me this pen, Pete.
Pete, last show I think you were kind of talking a little down on Trevor Lawrence. Did I hear you correctly that you were like kind of off that?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is he's pacing for it to be the most popular quarterback on Redacted, and I was like, that seems insane.
So that was like a little bit of an ownership thing. Well, like rivals wise, for passing yards, they do have Stroud versus Lawrence, and they are spotting Trevor Lawrence some yardage. I don't know how much would if you want to take a look.
I would need a pretty big spot, man. I just think I just don't like this Jags team, man.
I don't like the Jags either, you know, and you saw it whenever they actually were the team you needed. I mean, like, so many people in our space were like not on that, you know, like nobody likes this damn Jags team. There goes the pass. But like, man, I think I would take CJ Stroud -20 in passing yards.
The only thing I really like when I was like, and it's the same thing every week, and he's always in the same spot, but it's just like Christian Kirk again. Like, I looked at the battle royales, like he's getting underdrafted relative to his projection. And the Calvin Ridley, I mean, we didn't even talk about his dog bowl ADP is absurd.
It's so funny. It's the recency bias. I love it. Like, he finally has a good game, and now we could take him over Christian Kirk again, and then you go in here and
do they have a rival Ridley versus Kirk?
Oh, they have to.
Ooh, that'd be good.
If they're spotting us on Kirk, let's windmill this in.
They are
spotting Ridley
2.5 receiving yards.
Ridley,
I do it
so much further ahead.
It's
like
so much knows. The ADP does not.
Yeah.
I really like these rivals though, man.
Yeah, you've been.
Some of them you can really get really pick your spots in here. Taysom versus Kamara in rushing yards. Jesus Christ.
Is there what is the Allen versus Hurts? If Hurts is getting spotted more passing yards, I would definitely be into
nothing Allen. There for Bills.
Okay.
Let's see, Chiefs, and nothing for Chiefs. They have some Titans. I wonder if they've Derrick Henry.
Non-zero chance that like Dame Pierce just doesn't even see the field.
I don't know about that, but it does seem like
I'm not necessarily like advocating for it. I'm like, there's a non-zero chance he just doesn't see the field, right? Like
they're spotting Dame Pierce 18.5 rushing yards above Singletary in the rival screen.
Dame Pierce versus Singletary, 18.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, they just love Singletary in the outside zone run scheme. They went out, they made the acquisition. Like, you know, it's new regime. They go out, get their guy kind of thing. Now they've seen him pop in 2 straight weeks. They were nowhere close to giving Dame, 30 touches in a game. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting that I'm not saying for our pick'em here. I just mean kind of in general.
Okay.
So what do we have in here? We got Shakir, Downs, McBride, and then CJ Stroud over Lawrence rivals. I like that. So we just need one more one-off here.
Yeah. Who
Yeah,
else
so
were some of the plays that we were liking?
Yeah.
Good on the rivals. I think we hit the best rivals there. There's nothing left for us to really turn over.
Deontay or Warren.
Oh yeah,
like
or a Steeler.
Warren. Yeah.
What's Warren at in here?
47.5 rushing yards, 18.5 receiving, 70.5 combined.
I really like 2.5 receptions on Warren. I think that's a smash.
Dude, that feels good.
That's really good.
New OC, really Warren is the standout on this offense. Like,
Nez, it's a good one-off too, because I don't really want to attack that game in too many ways.
Yeah, be easy. I like this game. No, I don't want to stake my future on Steelers.
I like that.
Ankles. Okay, cool.
All right, let's do it. Nez, give me the nugget on who the new OC is too.
You want a nugget on this new Eddie Faulkner is the new OC, running back coach, now promoted to OC. The problem is that like Tomlin doesn't have like a coaching tree like in the NFL. So this is just like one of like another like Tomlin guy is what like the Pittsburgh media is saying. I'm gonna like pump the brakes on that. I think that, you know, bringing in somebody new that kind of understands some of the strengths will actually be beneficial. The play caller is the quarterback's coach though, which is interesting. So running back coach is the coordinator, quarterback coach is the play caller, but the OC, Eddie Faulkner, has a son, Eddie Faulkner the fourth, who goes to my alma mater, Slippery Rock University. So the guy knows so much ball. It's just oozing out of his ears.
Dude, you had me until that last Slippery Rock one. You had me. You went too far. No, you went too far with it. You had me at quarterback's coach, likes to pass, running backs coach coming in OC but not calling plays. The merging of those two is pass to your talented pass catching running back.
We'll go post production, edit what I said and put what you said, and then that's the bull case. That's the bull case. But yeah, I'm unfortunately not seeing a lot of things changing for the Steelers. Kenny Pickett is irredeemable. Maybe they pass over the middle more. They don't do that a lot. I don't know.
Just check this pick on. I am starting to think lower on 8.65 for Tim Boyle fantasy points was actually the sharp side.
You guys almost got there on your shit chasing show, and then like Ben wouldn't let Jacob say how bad he was, and then he's like, he's so bad that maybe he's actually good now.
We round trip the Tim Boyle takes, that's for sure.
Like a nice trip around Stanley Park.
That was
lovely
great
place. Hey, I will say I'm sold. I want to get out there, do the log throwing, all the other good stuff, see the elves, you know. All right, dudes, look at you getting $1.52 out of us here on this Black Friday. Appreciate all of you guys hanging out. You will see me in those dog bowl streets up until lock. In case you guys missed it, this is the last week to qualify. Only 3 more seats up for grabs, and Underdog running the promo they've been running. So if you get 10 entries in, all of your entries that finish in the top 2,000, you will get $25 bonus cash back, your entry back, which is, I believe it's top 38%. So a very, very nice offer. Certainly helps offset if you're wanting to get in some good volume this week. But if you're doing 7 or 8, you absolutely just need to do a couple more to get to the 10 and unlock that. I really think it's like do 1 or 2 or 10. Like you just don't want to be living in that middle ground.
Sure. Yeah, best thing going right now. Get your 10 in. You'll see us in there. And yeah, best of luck to everybody. I would love to meet one of you lovely folks in Miami. So get in there and win your seat, baby.
John, you just got your flight the other day. It's going to take you 36 hours, train, a pontoon boat. What else do you got on there?
Dude, it's nuts, man. We're going to catch the banana boat from the base of Texas. We're going to wrap around the Gulf of Mexico, come through. We'll finally end up in Miami there.
There you go.
Crazy.
Well, appreciate all of you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your holiday weekend. And yeah, we'll be back as usual next Friday. When will you guys be back for next Bad Bro show?
Monday. I think we'll do the recap Monday. Maybe do a little hoops. Yeah, back in business.
Well, then I guess I'll see you on Monday for my second Winner's Circle segment.
Ooh.
I saw Dave talking about
Love
manifesting his. That I just manifested it. I'll see. What time do you guys do that show? I'll make sure to clear my schedule. Right.
See you 2 p.m. Eastern on Monday. We'll see you.
All right. Perfect. Book it. All right, guys. Everyone have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.